All right, welcome to the second episode of Pakistani Radio. On this episode, I'm talking with Audra MacIntyre. She is the proprietor, the owner, and an instructor at My Revolution Cycle and Yoga. It's a spin and yoga studio based out of Red Deer, Alberta, and a really unique individual. She's kind of traveled the world, lived all over the world, and is now settled in Red Deer and teaching yoga there. And what we're going to be discussing today is awareness and how to be more aware in your life, and how to that, like, why should we be aware, and like what's the benefit of being aware. So sit back. It's about 50-minute conversation with Audra. All right. So I have the fortunate opportunity to sit down today with Audra MacIntyre. Audra is the proprietor, one of the main instructors at My Revolution Cycle and Yoga. It's a spin and yoga studio in Red Deer, Alberta. Audra, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Good.
Good. How's your day been so far?
Really good, actually.
Yeah. Busy day, maybe?
Yeah, we just added some new classes today, so it was very busy for me today. It's our first week of the new schedule.
Okay, so like you've added new types of classes or just like more classes?
New times, mainly.
Times. Okay. What time is your first class in the morning?
6:15.
How early do you guys start?
6:15 is our first class.
And people show up for that, huh?
Morning. Yeah.
Those are dedicated people.
Yeah.
I'm still in bed at that time, unfortunately. So
when I was driving, lots of dark homes when I was driving to the studio. So
yeah, right. Okay. I credit you for getting up and attacking the day so early. Yeah. So first off, thanks for joining me. So let's talk about a few things. First thing that I wanted to ask you was, I got your business card here, and under your name, your title is Founder plus Chief Happiness Officer. What does that mean? I've never met a Chief Happiness Officer before. Sorry. What is that?
This is something that's come up for me for a long time, and the company that I used to work for, they very much talked about where do you want to be in 10 years, 20 years, at that company. But one of the things I remember telling my boss a few years ago was, I hope someday there's a Chief Happiness Officer role at
that company,
and that I can be that person. So he had a good giggle out of that, because he said that makes you the chief ho. So he had a good sense of humor.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But certainly when I had to think about what I wanted my title to be, it was just a natural fit.
Be happy, make people happy, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this was the first time you were able to do that. How do you think? Like, how are you guys making people happy at My Revolution, I should say?
Well, we have great people that work at My Revolution. Cool. It's important to me that the people that work there are happy and they come to work, whether it's in a paid role, or we have some people that are karma workers, so they work in exchange for free spin and yoga. And it's important to me that they want to be there and that it's not just somewhere that they have to go.
Right.
And our clients they make us happy and we make them happy. So it works both ways.
Yeah, I find it's cool with, I guess with any fitness really, but with my experience with yoga, like you come out of yoga, you're so relaxed and just puts you in this like cool, great frame of mind. It's, I guess, maybe hard not to be happy there and being involved with all that energy and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So here's a really wide generic question for you. Feel free to answer it however you want, but what does happiness mean to you? How have you found happiness, or how do you seek happiness for yourself?
Yeah, it's that's a hard question. It's
sorry.
It's a state of being for sure. It doesn't mean that I'm always happy.
Okay.
It's the place that I want to spend most of my time in. I have a tattoo on my foot that says Santosha, which means contentment. And for me, those two are very closely tied. So contentment doesn't mean kind of resigned and not feeling up and down, but it's a place from which you have a firm foundation. And then from there, you feel really, really high sometimes, and you feel very low sometimes, but you always have that comfortable feeling that you'll get back to that baseline of Santosha. And I feel like happiness is really close to that baseline of Santosha.
Okay. And so when you're like out of a line, you're not feeling santosha.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's some sort of emotion involved in that, right? What are you doing? Like, how do you bring yourself back to that, or at least travel that emotion with ease?
It starts with awareness. Everything I think starts with awareness. So if you're aware of your feelings and you're not just going through the motions, then you decide, is this, I don't know if legitimate's the right word, but there's lots of reasons to be sad, and you should feel sad sometimes, and that's okay. And if you have your strong foundation, you know that you can stay in that feeling of sadness, and you'll come out of it. But then there's also times where you have feelings that might be considered negative feelings, whatever that may be, doubt, self-doubt, or just kind of feeling blah. And because you're aware of it, those are the times where you say, this is not a good place to sit and wallow in, and there's no reason to. And then you go back to the things that are important to you to keep your foundation or your base or your balance.
Right.
So for me, that's spin, or it's yoga, or it's a run. Sometimes it's a good laugh, or it's just being outdoors.
Right.
It's something
I think
for everyone.
I find like a lot of us, we struggle with that awareness piece. Say you're in that moment of, that negative place, right? And you said you just have to be aware that this is just a temporary state. But we have, it's a tough way to be aware. How do we find that awareness? How have you found like creating awareness in your life and making it more apparent and being able to utilize it more?
It takes practice.
Yeah.
And it's not something I don't believe it's something that you figure out and then you have it always.
Right.
You go back to practicing. And for me, I found that through meditation and yoga.
Cool. Okay. How long have you been practicing either or both?
Yoga for just over 10 years.
Yeah. And meditation?
Meditation, I mean, it's naturally inherent in yoga in lots of ways. So, but more of a pure meditation practice for about 5 years.
Really? And that helps you bring awareness, huh?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You learn to be mindful. You learn to sit. You learn to be.
And so like, and you found then, or you have found when you do that, you sit and you're focusing on that one task, it's translating now into other parts of your life. How are you seeing that?
How am I seeing that?
Yeah. How do you feel that? How are you?
Those moments where you might be doing something super random, like you're driving, and all of a sudden just this pure joy washes over you. You don't know why.
Okay. Right.
That's about being present and being in the moment. And you may have seen something, or you're aware and you're alive. And it's about getting that and being in that state more often. And you're in that state by getting out of your routine or your we just do the same things over and over every single day, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So if you can be more aware, if you can see the trees, the light hitting the trees and how beautiful it is, and just take time to be more aware. So it does start with some sort of a practice, whether it's meditation. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it prayer. You can call it probably lots of different things. But that's
you can find that in other, like you said, like even in fitness, maybe even it's the spin studio, right? When you're in that frame of, or that point in which where you're struggling now it's like it's a hard exercise, but you need to focus, right, to address it. That's the element, right? That's that focus that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I had a client this week new to yoga, and we were doing a restorative practice, which is a quiet practice with a little bit of a meditation at the end. And when she came into the studio, she was with a friend and she was talking a lot, and they were in the yoga studio. So I came in and said, okay, let's try to take it down a little, and we'll start to settle and get your legs up the wall, try and find some stillness. And I'll be back in just a couple minutes. And I left the room. And I could hear her talking again. So I was like, okay, it's tough for her to quiet her mind. And after practice, she said, that was really cool, but I have a really hard time quieting my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. But she came to a spin class this morning, and I was going to touch base with her after class, and I didn't get a chance to see what spin's like for her, and if she is able to shut her mind off, because it is so intense and it's changing all the time, and you have to concentrate on the choreography and the so it is, you're right, it can be in all sorts of different ways. It can be writing an exam. You've probably had that experience where you're writing an exam and all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by and you've just written an exam, you don't even remember writing it.
Same thing with driving home from work, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
People totally forget the route that they came home from. I like something you kind of pointed there. She went from yoga and then she went over to the spin class. But do you think that, is there something translatable there about awareness from spin to yoga? I mean, and maybe if I'll give you a little more of a definition behind that is, so spin is a Western thing, right? And it's really easy for Western people to engage in spin because it's familiar. It's riding a cycle. It's something that they've probably been around them in their presence since they were a kid. But yoga is not, right? It's pretty Eastern kind of philosophy. I mean, it's been adapted quite significantly now, but there's still people that struggle with it. Do you think you can translate or take people over to yoga through spin? Is there a connection there somehow through awareness or anything that you find at all?
I'm hoping so. We actually have a lot of people that come into the studio. It's the first dedicated spin studio in Red Deer.
Okay.
So we get a lot of people that come in that are afraid and tell us that they're scared to try it.
Right.
Loving it.
Okay.
So it is new for a lot of people, and it is something that's a little bit scary for people.
Okay.
You're right, though. It's probably more accepted than yoga. People have a big hang up around yoga, and whether they always say to me, I'm not flexible.
What do you say to someone who says that? I hear that a lot. What do you say to someone that says that?
Well, that's why you do yoga.
Right?
Flexible in your mind and flexible in your body.
Yeah.
So we have seen people we have some combo classes. So people who come and take the 45-minute spin and then the 30-minute restorative yoga.
Yeah.
You start to see, oh, okay, this is just a nice long stretch with some breath work, and she says some nice things and I feel good after.
Okay.
And then they start to come to the classes that are an hour and 15 minutes of just restorative yoga. Right. So we have started to see that slowly, but
a connection to it. And it probably helps with, like, if there are some other students in the class that are doing both, right? They're in the spin class, but they also participate in yoga. The instructors do both, right? So kind of slowly transition them into that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So something I wanted to touch on, you said quiet practice. What's a quiet practice? What does that mean?
I said
Are there loud practices?
Well, I think the word meditation sometimes scares people, and they think it means something that it may or may not mean. So when I say quiet practice, I just mean just being still and being quiet, rather than having to have the TV on or music going or talking with people, having people around, just to be quiet.
Okay.
So whatever that looks like for you.
Right. Just to be still, aware, present, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You had something that I read on your website, and it's inner fire. You're working and helping with what is inner fire?
It's that thing that it's that thing that can drive you, but it's also that thing that you go, whoa, that was amazing. I loved that. Or I feel so good when I do this, whatever that is.
Okay.
And I think that inner fire can lead you to where you are best fit in this world to be happy and to live the life you're supposed to live.
Right. How have you found inner fire, or when do you experience inner fire?
I experience it when I'm teaching, and it doesn't seem to matter if it's teaching yoga or teaching spin, or in my old life when I was a trainer for computer systems.
Okay.
It didn't seem to matter. That's kind of when I got lit up, when I could see people that were hesitant to be there for whatever reason, and then start to see light bulbs go off or start to see them connect. Making connections with people is also very important to me. So.
Okay, and you're helping them connect those dots, turning those light bulbs on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in a way that's not, it's just giving them the tools, and then they take it from there. So very different than, I took psychology in university for a couple of reasons. I was interested in sports psychology, but also definitely thought about doing counseling. And that style is just not for me. I think it's valuable. It's for some people. It's not for me. But I really, truly found my passion and my way and my place through teaching spin and yoga in particular.
Is there any psychology involved in that, in the teaching element of it?
I don't think I specifically or consciously take that. No.
It's just being yourself.
It's about holding space for people
Right.
and giving them ideas. I mean, I went to yoga for so many years, and the studio that I went to in Calgary, the teacher didn't necessarily shove yogic practices down your throat or philosophy or anything, but he always wove it in a way that was very real life, and you slowly start to connect with it. So when you're ready, you connect with those messages and you take them and you grow and you learn and you
develop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that all kind of ties into that whole awareness thing and being aware, and then would you say that's where you're finding happiness at that, when you're in that moment of inner fire, or you find people are in that, is there connection there with happiness that you found?
For sure.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Okay, cool. There was also something you had said before in a previous conversation about samskara. Did I mispronounce that?
Nope. Samskara it's the imprints that have been left on you. Well, you could say from other lives, or if you don't believe in other lives, you can say starting in this life. So from the moment you're born, you start to have experiences, and those experiences leave imprints on you in your body. And it's also the lens to which we often view the world.
Right. Okay. So let's just say, for example, from other lives, how do you relate to that? Is there a way to accumulate that in your mind and associate it to something? How do you create an association? Have you been able to create an association to something in a past life?
No, I don't think so. I've had healers tell me that a certain behavior or a certain way that I react to things could be because I lived in a time of the plague and all my friends and family died or something like that.
Right. Okay.
So maybe. Do I believe that, or I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with that. But
yeah,
certainly we all view the world through the lenses of our experiences, good and bad. And without awareness, you don't realize necessarily that you're doing that. So when we have certain patterns that may be negative in our life, they're just imprints and a lens that we've shoved up, and we're putting all of our experiences through that, and coming out the other end is something maybe not so nice.
Right.
It's perception. It's another way to look at it. So you and I see something at the same time and perceive it very different because we're looking at it through a lens of a different experience.
Yeah. And I find that that's if you're open, right, to the other lens. I mean, it's actually a great learning opportunity if you can really listen to what the other person is, how they're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the awareness piece. How do you find that this can better our lives, or open our lives up a little bit more, make them more happy, make them more developed? Being that aware and creating that awareness or finding that awareness within our lives.
I think you see more.
Yeah.
We talked about this before, how you may go a lifetime without noticing a certain something, whether it's a sign or a company, or my husband drives one of those concrete trucks with the big arms.
Okay.
I never in my entire life noticed one of those things until I met him. And now I see them everywhere.
Right.
It's like that with anything that you are aware, suddenly become aware of something, and then you start to see it everywhere.
Okay.
So even a message, you may start thinking more about being healthy, or, I don't know. You start thinking about something, and then all of a sudden it starts popping up everywhere for you in conversations you have with people, maybe on the internet. Now I'm not talking about Google stalking you and starting to patterns on what you're looking at, but once you become aware of something, it'll start to come into your life.
Right. And more importantly, maybe within your own life, and the way, say, external stimulants or things affect you. Right. Can that affect your emotional state once you become a little bit more aware, or anything like that? Right.
Yeah.
There was a quote on your website, and I'm going to misquote it now, but it was in terms of emotion and feeling emotion fully. You have to develop a strong foundation, right? How do you develop a strong foundation? What is that foundation in terms of feeling emotion fully?
I think it's different for everybody.
Okay.
Your foundation is different. It's what makes you feel fully you. What
Okay.
are your non-negotiables as far as, and maybe we could say it's your values and living from your values is part of it.
Okay.
And making sure that you're living that authentic life for you.
Hmm.
It's the key things that make you feel good, and making sure that day to day that's how you're living. So whether that's good nutrition, going to spin 5 times a week, having
Right.
a yoga practice, or whatever.
Going to
As
the park
long as
or
I have that going most of the time, I have a nice foundation, and then I can go up and I can go down from there. And I always know how to get back to my foundation. But it's different for everyone. There's
right.
no magic to it.
And defining then what we need to remove as well, right?
Yep, absolutely. And through awareness, you start to become more aware of when you're out of your, we call it flow even. You know when something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And you need to get rid of that, or you need to move in a different direction.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I think people who are very goal driven,
Yeah.
sometimes they don't see anything else between them and the goal. So as things are going, nope, that's not right. That's stop. They can't stop. They just keep going.
Going after that one goal.
Feel out of whack, and they don't know why.
Okay. Right. You said flow. I really like that. It's a cool term that's starting to get a little bit more relevance.
Yeah.
Have you read that book Flow by I think it's I'm going to kill his name. This is a Russian scientist. Mikhail, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but it's actually a great book. And it talks about, I think it's essentially awareness and happiness and being in that moment, or like when an athlete is actually probably translate really well to you when you're instructing and you're in the middle of instruction and everything's going perfectly and you're seeing people responding to your words. That's flow. That's happiness. That's what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Check out. I mean, if I'll find the book, I'll find all the information. I'll put in the show notes for this for this interview a little bit later. But so how do you find that this foundation it develops or it benefits our ability to experience emotion, and also why do you think we should fully experience emotion? Like you did say earlier, it's okay to be sad. Let's experience sad. Like, what's the benefit in experiencing all this? Do you find?
Well, they say, and I might agree, that you don't know happiness if you don't know sadness.
Oh, okay, cool.
What is happiness?
Right.
You don't even know that you're happy because you don't know what sadness is. So it is important to have that duality and to experience the different sides of things. Where I think you get into trouble is if you start to live in one of those places.
Right.
I don't think it's sustainable.
Okay. So yeah, experience all those emotions so you can value what they are and when they're there, maybe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's life. It's living. You want to live.
Right? Yeah. It can't all be rainbows and unicorns, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So another thing that I really liked from what I read on your site is you guys or if I'm going to read kind of verbatim what somebody wrote there is provide a welcoming, encouraging space for you to explore, flex your body, mind, and spirit. How do you flex your spirit? I didn't know. How do you do that? Or how do you help people to flex their spirit?
Yeah, and I think that again can come in many ways. People may never step into our yoga studio.
Yeah.
They may have a moment either just in their interactions with the people that work at the studio, or just being in the space, or in talking with other clients, or maybe on the spin bike where they all of a sudden have a moment where they tap into their spiritual side.
Okay.
An instructor says to them, it may be when they finish that 45 minutes and they're like, whoa, that was so amazing. I don't even remember. I didn't think about anything except being here for 45 minutes. And that can be the beginning and the opening of starting to become a little bit more spiritual and a little more aware.
Okay.
There's more to life than just getting up and brushing your teeth and eating. And
so it seems like it all ties more into that awareness thing, right? Like just being aware, being present. So there's a lot of value, it sounds like, in being more aware, being present, right?
I don't think you can make any changes in your life if you're not aware.
Okay, fair. Right? Yeah. Yeah. You have to know what's wrong. You have to know what's right. You have to know what to change, right? Okay, excellent. What's some of your exploration in life? Are there some examples of what you've, over your life? I know you've lived quite a very interesting life, actually, living in Indonesia and traveling to Peru and whatnot.
Mhm.
What are some of the things from there that have helped you flex your spirit and develop that awareness along the way, along your path?
I moved to Indonesia when I was 7, to a small island next to Bali called Lombok.
Okay.
And so I spent quite a number of years there, which probably was the beginning of me being interested in different cultures and
Okay.
different ways of life and different religions. And certainly when I came back to Canada, we lived in Lethbridge for a year. And I found that all the
Huge
religions
difference,
there.
huh? It's a night and day difference from.
Totally. Well, we went to Vernon first, so I didn't like jump right into Lethbridge. No offense
Okay.
if Lethbridge is watching. But I found that the religions there all seem to be very, a little bit more, I don't know if the word aggressive is right, but just, I think there's a strong Mormon population there. And all the other religions seem to be a little bit more, I'm going to say, in your face. It was everywhere.
Okay.
And it got me interested in a little bit in religion.
What were
And
some of the religions that were there?
Baptist, Alliance,
Okay.
Catholics. Yeah.
Okay. Very
It's
Catholic Christian
everywhere
religion.
we turned, we were getting invited to some sort of a church or
Okay.
some sort of a church gathering. And
Right.
I just have some vivid memories of some pretty crazy experiences.
Okay. Okay.
So I got interested in that. And first it was the Catholic Church. And so I kind of visited there for a bit and checked it out. And sorry, there's Norman. You can see his tail.
Ah,
Um,
yeah. Cameo appearance by your cat, Norman, huh?
and then a little bit, our neighbors were Baptist, so a little bit with the Baptist church. And then a friend of mine in high school went to the Alliance Church, so I used to go to church with her. So just, just exploring and seeing what it was all about. And then I actually explored the Mormon church for a while to see what that was all about.
Right. Wow. What was that like?
Really fascinating. It's so family oriented and such a deep connection and community, which is what I was drawn to, definitely, is the strong community. I think if I pull the psychology on myself, it's probably because I grew up traveling and moving all the time. So to connect with such a strong community felt really good to me.
Right. How about in Indonesia? What were some of the experiences in Indonesia? And how long were you out there for again?
6.5, 7 years off and on.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Did you pick up any of the language, culture?
Yeah, I was fluent when I was a child, but I've definitely lost all that. Well, the island next to Bali, then you're exposed to the Balinese, which is very different from the rest of Indonesia. Very deeply rooted in different gods and rituals. Very interesting, very rich. And then the kind of deeper we went into the country, the more we were exposed to Islam.
Right.
Different, depending on where we were. So the second place we lived was Bandung, which is near Jakarta.
Right.
And then we lived in Banda Aceh in Sumatra.
Okay.
So very more devout there and a little more, I hate to use the word extreme because I think that gives off the wrong impression, but very much more religious.
Okay. Yeah. Or people were practice a lot more, or a little bit more devout than we are out here with some of our faiths, right?
Well, I mean, I went to university in the States, in Nebraska, and certainly there were some very devout Christians there. Sure. So I don't know that that's necessarily what I would say, but yeah, that's where we go, I guess.
Excellent. So any advice to listeners or viewers if they're watching to find awareness? What are some tools? How would you tell people to start becoming more aware, getting into the habit of being more aware?
Well, I'm going to recommend yoga.
Yeah. Preferably My Revolution, Red Deer,
Right.
Alberta.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
No, you can find it anywhere, right? But I certainly know for me, after the exploration of religion, for me, when I found yoga, that's what I connected to. And again, for everyone, it's a little bit different, but
Right.
certainly yoga is not a religion. So it's
No.
open to everyone and anyone. And it's a place that you go to and you take the messages that mean something to you. And you may go to a yoga practice, whether it's a physical practice or a gentler practice or a meditation practice, and you may just feel relaxed when you leave, or you may feel like you got a really good workout when you leave.
Okay.
And you may just get that for years and years and years. It may take some time before you connect into the more spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah, because most people go in there and they're just kind of partaking in the physical aspect of it, right? And and so that, like, you think it's that element of feeling good, or where, like, how have you seen any people start to make that connection in your path, maybe with instructor or some people that work at your studio, or just on your path with students and stuff like that? Do you have any examples of someone starting to find that connection, or maybe essentially find that connection?
Yeah, I think you quite often see it very early on, and people sometimes don't know what it is or why they feel that way.
Okay, they just feel.
And then they start to hear the subtle messages that you're giving and connect those.
Right.
And I've certainly well, you and I have a friend in common who has connected very deeply in the last year with the yoga practice and is now going to be taking her teacher training. So it's really cool to watch people connect with it, because it isn't something that you force on people.
Yeah.
You lay it out for them and they come.
Yeah.
And then they either continue coming or they don't.
Yeah. I mean, people aren't getting rich becoming yoga instructors, right? So it's
no, you'd have to teach a lot of classes in a day.
Yeah. So there's got to be something else driving people to want to do that, right? In fact, actually, a girl I work with, she just kind of did something similar to yourself and broke out of the 9-to-5 and is now she's a full-time yoga instructor and left, the comforts of our 9-to-5 to seek that same path that you're on, and our mutual friend is also on. So yeah, I guess there is something there, right?
Yep.
Okay. There was another cool quote I liked on your website. One good thing about music: when it hits you, you feel no pain. What is it? Okay, well, first off, that's Bob Marley, right? It's a cool Bob Marley quote. And what is it about music? Why is it that we can just like zone out, in a workout or a spin, and then just not feel the pain, get out of it?
I think there's lots of things about music. It certainly it can bring you to a place that maybe didn't have great memories for you. So I think we talked last time about breakup songs or something that reminds you of a breakup, but you feel a connection with someone because you're like, oh, I'm not the only person who has felt that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It can be that, or it can just be uplifting.
Okay.
Feel good. It can increase the energy and the energy.
Yeah, it definitely does turn you up, right? And how about yoga? Like, I mean, I get obviously you guys got a lot of upbeat music in the spin side of it, but within yoga, what type of music do you guys use there? And is it applicable?
Certainly it is. Sometimes I don't play music.
Okay.
But sometimes I do. Sometimes it's just if it's a good flow class and you just want people to kind of get into a little bit of a vibe. For the yoga nidra and some of the meditations, there's some music that has a certain vibration that'll bring you to a certain vibration.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot about that, so don't ask me a whole bunch of details. But
is that binaural?
What was that?
Binaural? No, okay. I've seen that somewhere. I thought that was what it was, but okay, cool. But go on anyway. So it brings your vibration up.
Yeah, it just brings you to a certain vibrational level. So we definitely utilize that.
Okay. One thing you did say I'm gonna probe a little bit more about is yoga nidra.
Mhm.
You touched on that. I think you're the first person I've ever heard bring that up. What is that, and how does it work into the world of yoga?
It's a deeply guided meditation. You're in shavasana, so in corpse pose, laying down on your back,
Okay.
for the whole practice. And it goes, generally it's about 30 minutes, but it could be 30 to 45 minutes long.
Hmm.
And it takes you into the different layers of the mind. So by guiding you through the meditation, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And you have all sorts of crazy experiences. So it's
Really?
pretty remarkable. And it can feel like a 45-minute practice can feel like you've had about 4 hours of sleep. So it's very refreshing as well.
How do you not fall asleep? I mean, whenever I try savasana, like, and after a good like yoga session, it's very easy to fall asleep. How do
Somebody
you?
always falls asleep, and that's okay. You still
Okay.
get that. It actually came from someone who was a night guard, and he would fall asleep during
Okay.
his watch. And he one day woke up and he knew all these, I think they were chants, and he didn't know why he knew them. And it was
Right.
because he had fallen asleep, and in that state, he was listening to the boys do their practices at 4 in the morning. And it was coming into his mind because his mind was relaxed and ready to take information in. So
Right.
he developed the practice out of that concept of when our mind is supple and ready for planting a seed of intention or change or
Okay.
information is very powerful. So it would be a lot like hypnotism is probably
Right.
based on the same kind of principles of the mind.
It almost sounds very similar with like lucid dreaming a bit too.
Sure.
Are you familiar with lucid dreaming at all? No, because it's essentially that, like you kind of fall into a state, you're not fully asleep, but you are asleep, and the dreams that you have, you can kind of it's actually when, say, you had a dream and you're like, hey, I'm in a dream right now.
Right. Yeah.
That recognition in the moment
Yeah.
is that's lucid dreaming. You said layers of the mind. It takes you through the layers of the mind. Do you know how many layers there are of the mind, and kind of the process it would be to go through those layers?
Right. It's I'm going to say 7, and then somebody out there is going to be like, it's not 7. So I don't remember all 7.
Right.
But it just starts with, so it'll start with just kind of a relaxation, a basic relaxation. And
Yeah.
then it takes you through a rotation of consciousness. So you take a person through every part of their body, and they
Right.
just follow you with their mind. And it just gets them into the next layer that takes them into the mind a little bit deeper, a little more relaxed.
Okay.
And then it works on pranayama, so breath work. And again, if people can stay with you,
Yeah.
they're just a little bit deeper.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then there's some rapid visualization for them.
Yeah.
And then you take them on a guided meditation. So maybe a walk through a forest, or it could be anything. And then you slowly start to bring them back out again. And people do fall asleep, but quite
Okay.
often they're kind of in and out of that just before you fall asleep.
Right.
They'll recognize when they were with you through the whole time versus it's really cool when they come out of it, and then people are like, oh, that was so cool when we went to the well. And then somebody's like, we went to a well? I had no idea.
Oh, what's it like? Yeah. What is it like for you? What do you feel? What are you experiencing when you come out of that state?
The first time I did it, it absolutely blew me away. I don't even know. I was out of it.
Really?
Out of it. I actually left the studio that night, and it was late, so it was probably about 10 o'clock at night, and there wasn't a lot of traffic around.
Yeah.
And I came out of the alley, and I remember stopping, and I remember looking, and there was nothing. And I pulled out, and a bus came along, and just about hit me. Like I was
Wow.
so out of it. So yeah, I always get people to stay a little longer and drink some water and ground themselves and really come back into their bodies before they leave. And it's
Okay.
different every single time.
What do you think? What's the win here for people by going
Well,
through this process?
what we do in Yoga Nidra is, well, at the very base, it's so relaxing.
Okay.
So a lot of times people don't take the time to truly, truly relax.
Yeah.
People have trouble sleeping. They have trouble. Um,
Netflix is the most common
yeah,
form of relaxation
yeah,
today, right?
exactly. So
Okay.
at its very base, people are getting maybe 45 minutes of sleep. But we set a sankalpa or an intention at the beginning of the practice.
Sorry, what was that word again?
Sankalpa.
Sankalpa?
Sankalpa.
Sankalpa. Okay. Go on.
So it's just an intention.
Right.
And you set the same one every single time you practice. I encourage people, even before you go to bed, when you're laying there and you're feeling very relaxed,
Yeah.
take that in again. So we said at the beginning of the practice, and then we said at the very end, when your mind is like, yeah, I'm ready, take that in.
Right.
That same sankalpa until it transforms into your life, and then you can move on to another one.
And so that's an intention you pick for like the whole group combined will follow the same intention?
So everybody picks their own. So you say, you start by saying, I am. So I am, and then you decide what you want to be.
Right.
What do you want? What do you want to feel in your life? I am healthy. I am love. I am joy. I am just a million things.
Whatever it is important to you. Okay.
Yep.
And you do this at your studio as well?
Yeah. That's
Cool.
where I'm off to after this.
Okay. Is that the class you're teaching after this?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I'm gonna have to come by and check that out one day.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds interesting. How did you get into where did you find Yoga Nidra? And if people are looking to maybe get into this a little bit more, a lot of practitioners out there.
I think it's becoming a little bit more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, if you're in a big city center, most studios have a Yoga Nidra.
Okay.
For me, the first time I was exposed to it was during my teacher training.
Right.
And then after my teacher training, I took an additional training just specifically in Yoga Nidra.
Is that when you went to Peru?
Nope.
Peru was one of the initial training classes you took then?
That was, an advanced teacher training.
Okay, advanced training, right. Yeah. How old is it? Is it an old art?
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah, as old as probably a yoga.
I'm not a details person, I'm a concepts person. So
that's cool. I like that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Any words of wisdom you would give to people going forward?
For
just in life in general, and awareness, happiness. I know that's something, being a chief happiness officer is high on your agenda.
Yeah, it's so vast, it's so big, right? There's no magic pill, there's no. Be you.
How do they get started?
Who you are. Yeah. Those feelings of comparing yourself or feeling like you're never good enough or smart enough or have enough knowledge, get rid of that. There's a time for seeking and there's a time for being.
Right.
And I think you and I touched on that before. You can seek and seek and seek and seek, but you do need time to let that sink in. And so when you find that you connect with something, just be with that for a while and see how that feels. And maybe it's a time to give back rather than continually taking. Find
relaxing.
Feel good. Be aware of what makes you feel good. And try different things. It might not be yoga, it might not be spin, but try different things and see what feels good and things that you connect with.
Yeah, those activities that make you happy, that bring joy to your life, bring that more in your life, and remove more of the things that don't take you to that state of mind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And try and take yourself in that direction. Meditation.
Yeah. Meditation. It's so easy.
What's that?
No, it's not easy. Okay, it's easy in that you don't need to spend a lot of time doing it. So it doesn't need to be something where you sit down and put yourself into a pretzel and for minutes. It can be 2 minutes.
Right.
You can start as simple as a gratitude practice every day. So maybe in the morning,
what does that look like?
You wake up or before you go to bed, just find a comfortable position. So if it's sitting on the couch or it's sitting on the floor, wherever it is, and close your eyes, sit up nice and tall. Or if you want to lay down, you can lay down. Mm-hmm. Spend a few moments just being with your breath, really feel your breath in your body. And then spend a few minutes just letting everything that you have gratitude for start to wash over you. Okay. And acknowledge it, and then just let it go and let other stuff come in and be as specific as you possibly can.
Okay. Yeah. So that's cool. I like that you said that about letting the things come in and then letting them go. I think a lot of people, even myself, I can use myself as an example. When I first started playing with meditation, like you want to fight. Okay, get out of my head. Don't stop thinking about this. Stop thinking about it. But no, just be. Let it come. Let it go. Let it come. Let it go. Those are all important thoughts, right?
That's the hardest thing I think the hardest principle for me is is when people tell me that. So you need to be with it, and then you need to let it go. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So
Yeah.
it sounds easy, but if something keeps coming back, you really need to dig into that and find out why it keeps coming back. One of my yoga teachers was just at some yoga training this weekend, and I'm going to get the numbers wrong because I'm terrible.
Okay, you're a concept person.
Yeah, it was something like the yogi there was saying that we have 6,000 thoughts a day,
Whoa.
and 90% of those thoughts are on repeat. They're the same thoughts we continually have.
Okay.
Not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
So be aware of what's coming into your mind, and that's where yoga and meditation can really help with that. It's starting to be aware and notice what's coming in.
Okay. You think it brings less thoughts in? You think we have less thoughts with that? Use yourself an example. How do you think, you know, where your thought process is today by incorporating that into your life?
Well, it's a constant practice. So it's not, you don't start practicing and then you're immune to that. Okay. Yeah. But hopefully you don't stay in it too long and you go, oh my goodness, I had 6,000 thoughts today, and well, I was good at math, 50, whatever, 100 of them were the same, same thoughts. Why am I doing that? I go on autopilot all the time, and it's just a matter of pulling yourself out of that and saying, hey, let's be aware. So start small too. Yeah. Start small. You don't have to tackle everything all at once. Maybe,
I find that it helps you come out of that autopilot or recognize you're on autopilot a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, and then snap out of it or something.
Yeah.
You found that at all? Yeah.
And just decide maybe starting tomorrow, instead of brushing your teeth standing, you're going to squat and brush your teeth.
Okay.
Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that example. That's a good example.
There's a bunch of little things that you can do that's just not exactly the same way you always do it, that will just snap you out of your routine.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Audra. One last question I want for you is there someone out there or someone you know that you admire or inspires you, or both? Who would that be?
Yeah. So I knew you were going to ask me that. And I'd love to say that one person, there's like this one person who's so inspiring, but I truly find inspiration every single day. And I find inspiration in different people at different times, probably for different reasons.
Right.
And I feel like if I start going down that path we'll talk forever. I could give you a million different examples. So, but I do find inspiration in people every single day.
Really? Okay, excellent. That's probably a lot in your students and the instructors you work with.
Yeah, but I think you can find that. I think you can find that if you're watching for it everywhere. There's a gas station that I stop at sometimes really early in the morning to get coffee. And the woman who works there is always so friendly, and it's whatever, 6 o'clock in the morning, and she's got a big smile, and she always greets you with such joy. And I was like, and I find inspiration in that. That's amazing. So you can find it everywhere if you're watching for it.
If you're watching for it, right? And again, I think that kind of ties back into the whole awareness piece, right? Being aware, being present, rather than doing your bills in your head and adding all that kind of stuff up as you're going through the day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Audra. One last thing I wanted to share with everybody was a quote from your website. I really like, and it kind of almost sums up everything we've talked about and also who you are. But the body heals with play, the mind heals with laughter, and the spirit heals with joy. Great saying. Where did you find that from?
Somebody sent that to me a couple of years ago when I was still at my big girl job in Calgary. And I just loved it. I thought, you know what? Yes, that is right. And I printed it out that day, and I had it at work, and I put out a copy for home, and I still have a copy on our fridge here. It makes sense to me.
Excellent. Yeah, it does make sense. It's a very nice quote. And just to clarify for people out there, a big girl job means like a corporate job that you were working in corporate Calgary, right? Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you again, Audra. Tell me and tell everybody, how can we find you? Where are you at, social media wise, online, physically?
All these detailed questions. Well, our website is www.myrev.ca. We are on Instagram, Twitter.
What are your handles on Instagram and Twitter?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I know you have a girl that handles all that for you.
That's not true. That's not true. Can you put it up can you put it up as a thing here?
I'll put in the notes of the interview on YouTube.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, if you send that to me, I'll put all that stuff up there for you. Awesome. So yeah, it's myrevolution.ca, was it?
Myrev.ca.
Myrev.ca. I'm looking at it right there. So excellent. Great. Thank you again, Audra. I appreciate your time. And for people that are listening, watching, if there is anyone listening, watching, I hope so. If you like this video, make sure you like it here on YouTube. If you've got any comments for Audra and myself, please put them in the comment box there. If you like the video, share it on Facebook. Let people know what's going on and all the good work that Audra and her people at My Revolution are doing. Thank you again for your time. It's been an awesome chat with you. Hopefully we can have you back again sometime in the future if you're available.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks again. Take care.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.